Hi friends, today we're going to talk about 7 really useful ways you can study for the Duolingo English Test. Now, as you know, the Duolingo English Test is a bit different than other exams like the IELTS or TOEFL, so the way you study for it might be a little bit different, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But before I do that, if you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Luke, an expert Duolingo English Test teacher from detready.com. Head over to that website to get more information, courses and other useful materials to help you study for the Duolingo English Test. Okay, point number 1 is to know the structure. So besides actually improving your English, the next best thing you can do to prepare for this exam is to get used to the structure. The Duolingo English Test is quite different than the other traditional exams like the IELTS and TOEFL in a few key ways. Firstly, the time limit you get for each of the questions is significantly shorter, particularly when it comes to writing. For the write about an image question, you only have 1 minute, and then for the longer respond to a prompt question, you get 5 minutes to do that. This is much shorter than the writing questions on the IELTS and TOEFL exams. The next big difference is that the Duolingo English Test is a mixed skills test. That means that the reading, writing, speaking and listening questions are all combined together. This is quite different than the IELTS and TOEFL exams, where you have a reading section, a writing section, a listening section, and a speaking section. On the Duolingo English Test, each question type actually tests usually 2 skills, and those skills are named differently as well. We have literacy, conversation, comprehension, and production. This is actually quite different than the other exams, but in my opinion, as an English language teacher, I think those subscores actually represent your skills in a much better way. But anyway, for you, the main point is that you get used to this format because it's quite different than the other exams. So how can you get used to it? Well, luckily on the Duolingo Test website, there is a practice test. So just head over to the official site and you can take a practice test. This is the best way to get used to the format. And at the end, they give you an estimated score, which is super helpful to let you know if you're ready to take the test or not. So I recommend you take the test every single day, as many times as you can, just to get used to the format. I've also made full practice tests here on YouTube, so you can watch those videos as well. And my next point is to strategize. So to do well on the Duolingo English Test, or in fact any test in your life, you need to be able to strategize. Firstly, you need to think to yourself, what are my strengths and weaknesses? And particularly, you need to be honest with your weaknesses. And of course, spend more time trying to improve that area. So for example, if you think your weakness is in writing, then you should be spending the majority of your study time dedicated to improving your writing. If it's vocabulary, then you should be improving your vocabulary every single day. So the first way to strategize is to realize, what am I good at and what do I need to improve the most? The second way to strategize is to know exactly what score is required of you. Universities normally require one of these 3 things. First, a good overall score, normally around 100 to 110, but some do want an overall score of 120. 2, a good overall score plus a good score in production. Again, somewhere around that 110 mark. And thirdly, a good overall score and a good score in each of the subscores. So for example, 110 overall plus over 100 in each of the subscores. It's really important that you know what is required of you because you can tailor your studies to hit that requirement. So how can you find out? Well, let me show you. So the first thing you do is go over to the Duolingo Test website and then go up to institutions and then who accepts the test. I think this is an incredibly useful feature that the Duolingo team have provided for us. It saves so much time because you can just type in the name of the university in this search bar. So for example, let's say you want to go to the UK where I'm from, and you might want to go to Bath University, which is a beautiful place. And it should take you to the university's English language requirements page. The language requirement for Bath University is 120 overall. So that's how it's done. It's really easy to go and find out, and it's vital that you know exactly what score you need before you take the test, particularly if you need to get a good score in production. And my study point number 3 will help you with that. So study point number 3 is to take some courses to help you improve your score, particularly your production score, because that's the area most students struggle with. And I have made some production courses, so I'm just going to talk about those very quickly here. So far, I've made 2 writing courses, one for the write about a topic and one for the write about a picture. I am in the process of making speaking courses, but they'll take a couple weeks. In these courses, I show you in a detailed way how to write and structure your answer. I give you lots of practice and I show you plenty of sample answers. On top of that, there are tons of PDFs you can download to help you study. So if you're at all interested in taking more detailed and organized courses with me, you can find the links below in the description. But if you're not, that's fine. I will keep making good YouTube videos for free. So definitely subscribe to this channel for that. Tip number 4 is to increase your vocabulary. So the Duolingo English test is really vocab heavy. There are 2 question types specifically designed to test your vocabulary. We have the read and choose the real word and the listen and choose. So if you have a weak vocabulary, it'll be really hard to get a good score on this test. So how can you improve your vocabulary quickly? Well, luckily there are some really useful word lists available. Now, it's important you know that these are not provided by the Duolingo test team, but nonetheless, they are extremely helpful to help you study and memorize some words really quickly. The best one can be found on oxfordlearnersdictionary.com. If you head over to that website, go over to word lists, you can find different lists at different levels. I recommend you start studying at the B1, B2 and C1 level. B1 is low intermediate and C2 is low advanced. I don't think they have a C2 list available just yet. I have put a link to this website below in the description. I highly recommend you check that out. Study point number 5 is to read, read and read. So why should you read? Well, isn't it obvious? Firstly, it helps improve your vocabulary, it helps you improve your comprehension, and particularly for the Duolingo English test, it'll help you with one of the most difficult questions, which is fill in the blanks. The more frequently you read in English, the easier this question type will become. On top of that, reading a lot, especially about different topics, will help you with the speaking and writing parts of this test as well, because often those questions ask you to give your opinion. But if you don't know the topic, then you probably don't have an opinion about the topic. So the more you read, the more you will understand about the world and the more opinions you have to answer those questions. So what should you read? Well, of course you should be reading news articles daily, different blogs about different topics, and even people's opinions on social media like on Facebook or Twitter. But if you find reading those kind of things quite challenging, I have a better resource for you. So if you head over to the BBC Learning English website, you can find a ton of free information to help you improve your English. Particularly for reading, they do a review of the top stories in slightly more simple English. So you can read about the topics, you can learn some vocabulary, you can get an opinion about them, and it won't take you as much time or be as stressful for you. Next up, we have do your own dictation. Okay, so the dictation is another big part of this English test. You have to listen and write down exactly what you hear. Luckily for us, these days, you can do this super easily just by going on YouTube, playing a small part of the video and writing down what you hear. Then you can double check your answers by looking at the captions. This is a good and simple way to do this by yourself. Alternatively, I have made lots of videos about dictation. You can test yourself with those. And again, I do have a dictation course coming out soon. In this course, I will teach you how to use correct grammar, correct punctuation and capitalization, and provide you with hundreds of different dictation tasks, from easy to difficult. But the key point is that you practice, practice, practice. The Duolingo English test is not an easy test, but it will become easier if you practice these things every day. Next, you have to prepare mentally. Just like I mentioned in the first point, the Duolingo English test is a very fast exam. As soon as you've finished one question, the next one comes, and you usually just have a minute or you have to complete it in a very short amount of time. So you have to be prepared for that. Thinking quickly in a second language, like in English for you, is really, really hard. I know that. Actually, I live in South Korea and I speak Korean almost daily, and yeah, it's tough. It's truly exhausting. But you need to get ready and you need to do it well. So how can you get mentally ready? Well, I recommend you take the practice test every single day as often as you can. Even though a lot of the questions will be repeated if you do the practice test often enough, that's not really the point. The point is that you get ready mentally in terms of knowing the structure and getting used to the speed of the test. You can also look at your estimated score and take note. Is it going up? Is it going down? If it's going down, you've got a problem, you've got to study harder. But if it's going up, then you know you're going in the right direction. So that's how I think you should be studying for this exam. If you want more writing practice, click this video here. Speaking practice, this one here. If you want organized courses, check the links below in the description. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.